Dear children, we will begin from where we left in the last turn. So we have seen the ship has met a storm or a tempest, and it is very difficult to get out of it. The bosun and his team of mariners are trying their best to get out of this storm and to save the ship. But on the other hand, Antonio, Sebastian, Gonzalo are coming on board on the deck and asking various questions, thereby disturbing bosun from doing his work. At the end, we see that the ship crashes or breaks, and everybody is now in the water. We will continue from here, though the scene is over. Excuse me. We will discuss certain things. Initially, we'll start with the summary. So, we are going to do a quick summary of Act 1, Scene 1. Bosun is called by the master, and the master asks Bosun to talk to his mariners so that they start working fast to save the ship from this storm. Bosun talks to his mariners and they get busy trying to save the ship. On the other hand, Alonso comes on the deck and asks Bosun where the master is. And also Gonzalo comes on the deck when Bosun says, "What are you doing here? Go down, you are disturbing our work." So Gonzalo then says, "Okay, just remember, the king and the prince is on board. Oh, I see, hang marks, he will not die drowning." So Gonzalo sees hang marks on his neck, on the neck of Bosun, and he comes to the conclusion that Bosun will not die drowning. In a way, if he is saved from drowning, all the people on board are automatically saved. After saying this, Gonzalo goes down. Then after some time, Sebastian, Antonio and Gonzalo come back on the deck, and Bosun is surprised. He says, "What? You all are here up again? Should we stop our work and prepare to die?" Because they are getting disturbed by these people who are coming up on the deck again and again. So they say, "You are a disrespectful person and a big mouth." At that moment, Gonzalo says, "We are about to sink," because the mariners had come up and said, "Alas, alas, all is lost." So Gonzalo says, "We are about to sink. Farewell my wife, farewell my friends." At that moment, the ship breaks into two, and Gonzalo says, "I can give anything to get an acre of barren land. I will happily die a dry death." This is what Gonzalo says, and the scene ends here. Having finished the scene, now we will go through the analysis of this Act 1, Scene 1. Now the opening confrontation between Gonzalo and Bosun reveals one of the most important themes in the Tempest, that is the class conflict. Now see, Gonzalo is a noble person, so he belongs to the class which is noble people, and Bosun is from yeomanry, which is the middle class, or we may also take him to be rather the peasants class. So he is in the form of, he is basically a worker. So there, if you look at the class difference, there is a class difference. But this class difference is effective on land. Here on water, who is in charge of the ship? It is Bosun. So all these people who are traveling in the boat, or the ship rather, have to follow whatever Bosun is saying. So here on the ship, Bosun is at a higher class as compared to the other people. Next point is, when confronted by members of the royal party, that is the king and his noblemen, the bosun orders that they return below the deck to their cabins. He is performing his job, and to stop in response to Alonso's request for the master would be foolish. So what had Alonso asked? He had come to the deck and asked, where is the master? So bosun, the best thing that he could have done was to ignore the question, because at that moment bosun was performing his job to save the ship. So if he went for looking for the master, that would have wasted his time. But look at it, Alonso was a king, so he was expecting his question to be answered immediately, and bosun, being of low class, still ignored the question. We move on. The king has no protection from the storm, simply because of his rank, because the storm has little care for a man's social or political position. So, ironically, the king is supposed to be just below God, right? But here in this place, we see the king has no protection from the storm, even if his rank is higher, because the nature does not follow this hierarchy. For nature, everybody is same. There is no one who is socially or politically superior. Gonzalo urges the bosun to remember that the king and his party are the passengers. The implication is that the bosun should also remember that his social rank makes him servant to the royal party, regardless of the circumstances. So whatever may be there, there's a storm, and bosun is the only person who can control the storm, and rather the ship. Still, Gonzalo reminds him that he is in a lower class as compared to all the people on board, the royal people on board and the noble people. This is again an implication of the class system which happens in the land, not in water. So he says, Gonzalo's words are a clear reminder that even in the midst of a storm, class or status remains an important part of life. So when you will discuss about class and status in that era, if you get a question like that, these all points are to be used as quotes and as references. As far as the bosun is concerned, all men are equal in a storm and are equally at risk. So if you remember, he says at one place, I care for myself first. So that means he is saying everybody is equal in a storm. So again, the reference, read carefully, all men are equal in a storm. But that means even bosun accepts that when they move to the land, again the hierarchy is to be followed. Right now, everybody is equal. Alonso seems to understand that the captain is the ship's final authority. So Alonso realizes that his being superior socially will not have any impact in this scenario, because it is the captain who is the final authority. Whatever he will say has to be followed. His original request at the severity of the storm and frustration at the bosun and master reflects his belief that the master is in charge of the ship, and that as passengers, he, who is the king, and his men fall under the captain's authority. But bosun's order to go below decks causes the king's party to fall back on the rules of the land. The king is the final authority. In this scene, we have seen that the bosun is telling Gonzalo that he should use his authority to stop the storm, is a reminder that he has no authority under these circumstances. So if you are from the superior class, use your authority to control the nature, which Gonzalo cannot. Who can do it? Only bosun can do it. Now, in this drama, the term tempest or the title Tempest does not just refers to the storm. There are many tempests to be explored during the course of this story or drama. First tempest is tempest of class conflict. As we have already discussed, this class conflict was a tempest in that era. Tempest of emotions. For example, we will study this later in the other scenes. Conflict between Antonio and Prospero, and the conflict between Sebastian and Alonso. So Antonio is the brother of Prospero and Sebastian is the brother of Alonso. Then comes the tempest of discord. Like, consider Caliban's dissatisfaction and desire for revenge. Caliban was the owner of this island before Prospero came to the island with his daughter Miranda and took over the island. So his dissatisfaction and desire to take revenge is there. Tempest of forbidden love. Considering the romance between Miranda and Ferdinand, which we will see later in the scenes, and the lust of Caliban towards Miranda. Dear children, what type of questions can you expect from this tempest? There will be two types of question. One will be reference to context, which you have been doing in class 10. The other question type will be long questions. Like, these will be questions which may be divided into 2 parts or 3 parts, but will ask for your summarization of the text as well as your analysis of the text and reference to the text using quotes to justify your answers. So prepare accordingly, because you may get any type of question from this scene, because it's starting of the play. You may get RTCs. There are many things which can be included in an RTC question from this part, as well as you can get the long answer. With that, we come to the end of our Act 1, Scene 1. Now, next time when we are going to meet, I'll try to see if we can do some questions in this period. Let's see, I haven't planned it yet. Let's see. Okay then, thank you so much children. Read this part, go through this video, go through the introduction videos, and if you have any doubts, please contact your English teacher. Thank you.